Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about the 5 core funds and the L funds in the TSP. And if you put your money in any of these funds, what on earth are you actually invested in? Like if you put your money in the G fund or the F fund or the C fund, what are you actually putting your money in? Is it something that you know, that you trust? We're going to talk about all these things today so you know exactly where you're putting your money and how and why your money grows or doesn't grow. Let's dive right in. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dallin Haas. I'm a financial planner who serves federal employees every single day, and I absolutely love it. Let's dive in. Let's start with the more conservative investments, right? We got the G fund, and the F fund. These are considered conservative because they're both bond-based funds, right? We have stocks and bonds. These are bonds, and bonds tend to fluctuate a lot less than stocks, but they tend to grow less than stocks over time. The G fund is the most conservative. The government literally guarantees it to not go down in value. Now, that doesn't mean you won't lose money after inflation, but if you have $100 in there, it's not going to go under $100. Now, that $100 may not grow enough to beat inflation, but again, it won't actually go down in value. The government guarantees it. So it is basically a special type of U.S. security. Okay, security is just another way of saying bond or fund. Long story short, it's a special type of investment just for the TSP that again will grow a little bit every year, but it's not gonna do wonders, but it will be safe. Okay, the F fund is bonds in general, so it's not just U.S. bonds, it's government or it's company bonds, it's bonds as a whole. Okay, you're investing in bonds. Basically, what is a bond? If you don't know what a bond is, it's basically you're lending money to the government or to other companies, and they pay you back interest over time. It's like a mortgage, but reversed. You're not borrowing the money, you lend the money. That is what a bond is. You give money, and they pay you back with interest over time. Okay, that is the F fund. Let's talk about the other funds, C, S, and I. The C fund. The C fund, these are considered the more aggressive funds because they're stock-based. They're in companies, and as we all know, the stock market can fluctuate a lot. The C fund is the S&P 500. So when you put your money in the C fund, the 500 largest companies in the U.S., that is what you're investing in. That is where your dollars are going. So right now, some of the biggest companies are Tesla, Apple, Berkshire Hathaway. These sort of companies are some of the largest in the U.S., and that's where you're putting your money. This S fund is the small to medium companies here in the U.S. So both of these are U.S. based. If you want to invest in U.S. companies, that is how you do it, C and S. And the S fund is all the companies that you can invest in the U.S., publicly traded companies that aren't in the C fund, right? So for example, if this represents all of the companies you can invest in the U.S., okay, and this represents the S&P 500. The S fund is everything else, okay? The S fund is all the other companies that aren't the 500 biggest, okay? Now, here is I, and I stands for international. International. And the I fund is actually adjusted here in 2024 and exactly what they invest in. It's actually, in my opinion, a great move. They used to not really include developing countries and things, but they've changed that, right? They've changed what they invest in. They now include a lot of developing countries. Basically, if you want to invest in large companies from around the world, this would do it. This helps diversify out of the U.S., right? Maybe some years the U.S. doesn't do as well, or there's other countries that are going to grow more than the very developed country, for example, like the U.S. is. So these are the core funds. These are them, right? The more conservative because they're bonds, and then the more aggressive because they are stocks. Now, you also know that there are L funds in the TSP as well. The L funds, as you know, there's, for example, the L 2025 fund, L 2030, L 2035. Every 5-year increment for the next 50 years or so has an L fund. And the further out this L fund is from today's date, the more aggressive it is, the more it has of the C, S, and I. The closer you are, like if you're invested in the 2025 fund, the L 2025, a huge chunk of it is going to be here in the safer investments, okay? And by the way, the L funds are not unique. They don't have anything special They just have different percentages of these core funds. For example, if these are different ingredients in a recipe, let's say this is flour, eggs, milk, etc., the L funds are just different proportions of these ingredients. They're not new ingredients. They're not, hey, a brand new thing to invest in. It's just these core ingredients mixed up into different variations. So you want to make sure whatever you invest in, you know what your money is actually going to, and that's where you want to send your money. I've got other videos on exactly how you should be investing depending on where you're at in your career, whether you should be aggressive, conservative, etc. So go check out those other videos. But this video primarily is to focus on exactly what the things are, right? Where are you putting your money, and are you comfortable with that? So I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.